One of the most frequently asked questions I get as a vinyl wrap installer is, will vinyl wrap peel or damage the paint in my car when I remove it? The answer to that question is no, but sometimes yes. Really, it kind of depends. So to understand a little bit more about why the answer is generally no, but sometimes yes, or it depends, we have to understand a little bit first about the adhesion strength of vinyl wrap and the adhesion strength of paint. So I was talking with a representative from one of the major automotive vinyl wrap producers, and in talking with that person, automotive vinyl wrap generally has an adhesive strength of about 5 pounds per square inch. And what that means is if you wanted to remove vinyl wrap from a surface that it's been applied to, you would have to apply at least 5 pounds of pull per square inch in order for that vinyl wrap to be removed. In speaking with that same representative concerning automotive paint, generally speaking, and this is kind of loose, depends on different manufacturers and OEMs, automotive paint generally has an adhesive or a holding strength onto a properly prepared surface of around 30 pounds per square inch, meaning that you'll have to exert at least 30 pounds of pull in a square inch to be able to remove that paint from a properly prepared surface. So knowing this, you could see that with a 5 pounds per square inch adhesive strength of vinyl wrap and a 30 pounds or more per square inch of adhesion strength of automotive paint, the vinyl wrap at a mere 5 pounds of pull is not going to pull strong enough to remove paint from a properly prepared surface. It would need to have an adhesive strength of at least 30 pounds per square inch or more in order to pull the paint off of that surface. So the bottom line to that context is basically that paint has a greater adhesion strength than automotive vinyl wrap, and so therefore automotive vinyl wrap will not be able to pull paint off of a properly prepared and painted surface. Okay, so now that we've talked about why vinyl wrap will not peel paint when you remove it from a painted surface, let's talk about why in some instances the vinyl wrap can actually peel the paint from your car or the painted surface that the vinyl wrap has been applied to. So if we go back to the conversation earlier about the adhesive strength of vinyl wrap versus the adhesive strength of paint, paint that is in good condition, properly prepared and applied to a good surface has an adhesion strength of 30 pounds per square inch, whereas vinyl generally has an adhesive strength of 5 pounds per square inch. The only instances that vinyl wrap should technically be able to peel paint is when the paint's adhesion strength is at 5 pounds or less per square inch on the surface that it is applied to. So how does that happen? How is the paint not able to have greater than 5 pounds of adhesion strength to the surface that it's been applied to? Well, there are a bunch of reasons why paint might not have its full adhesion strength, and it's going to be weak enough adhered to whatever surface it's been applied to that vinyl wrap would be able to peel it off when you remove that vinyl wrap. One of the main reasons why paint would be peeled off with vinyl wrap is that the paint was somehow compromised when the vinyl wrap was put over it. And what I mean by that is the paint had some sort of scratch or a chip, or it had a break in the paint, and then the vinyl wrap was able to kind of get into that groove or whatever and kind of pull it up. It's kind of like when you have a paint chip and you take your fingernail and you kind of pick at it and it pulls the paint up. The rest of the paint surrounding it is strong and adhered well, but because there's a break in the surface and there's an edge that can be pulled up, that is one of the reasons why the vinyl wrap might peel paint, even if it is, say for example, a new car that has meets all OEM specs. You know, you drive in your car, you go down from the dealership, you drive down the highway, you might hit a rock or something, it chips your paint. Now that chip, the edge of the chip is a compromise in the paint. If you vinyl wrap over that, there is a chance that when you do remove the vinyl wrap, because the vinyl can grab onto that edge of the paint as you're removing it, the vinyl wrap may indeed peel some of that paint with it. Another reason why vinyl wrap might peel your paint when you remove it is that the paint itself was applied to a poorly prepared surface. And what that means is the paint itself may actually have its full adhesion strength, but because the surface it was applied to might have had oil or dirt or residue or grime or something on there that interferes with the bond of the paint to the surface, its actual adhesion strength may be less than the adhesion strength of vinyl wrap. So this is important is if you're going to be painting a car, or just like with vinyl wrap, you want to make sure that your surface that you're applying paint or vinyl wrap is thoroughly cleaned and prepared according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Another reason why vinyl wrap might peel paint from your car is because the car itself, the surface of the car that the paint has been applied to, does have an underlying condition. What I mean by that is maybe they're under the paint, you might not even see it. There might be some rust underneath of that, for example. And thus, when you start applying vinyl wrap over it, and when it comes time to peel that vinyl wrap, the rust itself compromises the surface that the paint has been applied to. And so therefore, when you peel off the vinyl wrap, the adhesion strength in total of the paint and the surface would be less than the vinyl wrap, the adhesion strength itself, and therefore the paint itself would come off with the vinyl wrap as you're pulling it off. Another reason why vinyl wrap might peel the paint of your car, and this is related to the earlier discussion of proper preparation of the surface that paint is applied to, is that the paint that you're applying your vinyl wrap to may actually have just been a cheap or inexpensive respray. Sometimes you don't even know that your car might have been resprayed. Say you bought a used car, it looks good, the paint looks new and shiny. Oftentimes, dealers or third party sellers, second party sellers might actually have the car resprayed before putting it up for sale, and that respray tends to be done at its cheapest possible price, and therefore it's not necessarily a good quality paint spray. And what I mean by that is maybe when they did the respray, they didn't quite prepare their surface as well as they should have, or maybe they're using a lower quality paint, or maybe when they did apply the paint, they didn't allow for the proper curing time or conditions for that paint to adhere its best to the surface it's been applied to. So that could result in the paint's adhesion strength itself being less than the adhesion strength of the vinyl wrap. And when you go to peel out the vinyl wrap that's been applied to a resprayed surface, the vinyl wrap itself may peel that resprayed paint off with it. So now that we've talked about some of the reasons why vinyl will or will not peel paint, let's take a look at an example of how vinyl will not peel the paint on a properly prepared and non-compromised paint surface. Here you can see I'm peeling the vinyl off of the hood of my 2007 STI. This vinyl on the hood is Vivid's True R carbon fiber vinyl. It had been on the hood for about 2 years when I decided to go ahead and peel it off. As you can see, with a little bit of heat and a little bit of basically elbow grease and pulling, it's coming off nice and cleanly. And here's just a look at the car's hood now that all the vinyl hasn't peeled off. Because the paint was in very good condition and very well cared for, and it was still very strong, there was no peeling of any of the paint on the hood of my car after about 2 years of having the vinyl on it. Here's another example of vinyl that was applied to a new vehicle. I think it's like a 2019 Ford Transit van rooftop. And I just applied this decal and had to remove it. And you can see that I'm peeling it straight off. And because there was no compromises in the paint and that the paint was in good condition, peeling that vinyl came off without any issues or damage to the paint. So now that I've shown you an example of how vinyl won't peel paint, let's take a look at how vinyl can peel paint under certain circumstances. Here I'm peeling the vinyl off of my 1998 Subaru Legacy wagon, and the vinyl at this point had been on the car for about 2 years. And again, keep in mind this is a 98 wagon. When I peeled off this paint, this thing was about 20 years old, maybe a little bit more than that. And what I discovered there, as you can see now, that at the bottom front corner of the fender there was some rust underneath the paint that when I had applied the vinyl about 2 years ago, I did not see or know about. What I'm discovering now as I peel it all along the underside of the fender, rust had gotten on the upper inside and started basically making its way through the metal onto the vinyl. And so what you're seeing there as I peel the vinyl, the adhesion strength of the vinyl is now greater than the paint strength to the metal because the metal itself had been compromised and is basically disintegrated. And so therefore the vinyl's adhesion strength would certainly pull off the paint and chunks of metal from my car or fender well. So this is a very good example of an underlying condition that maybe you didn't even know about when you applied the vinyl, that when you go to peel the vinyl, it'll present itself at that time. And so you can see a giant chunk of paint stuck to the vinyl on the back side of the front fender well there. And so these are some things where you'll have to check if you're going to apply it. If you could find it ahead of time, let your client or customer know, or just know later on when you try to peel it, you're going to go ahead and probably take the paint and or metal along with it. So the rest of this part of the video, I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward because all I'm doing is peeling off the rest, and I'll show you the end result. And so now you can see that I peeled off most of the vinyl, and you can see where the vinyl itself on this 20-year-old paint did not do pull off any of the areas, mostly on the main flat surfaces there. But you can see all along the inner wheel well edge there that because of the rust, the vinyl did pull off the paint in those sections. Not just the paint, but the metal with it, again, because the metal itself had essentially disintegrated, so it had no way to hold on, or no adhesion strength, if you will, when I'm pulling off the vinyl from that particular paint. So here is a very good example of how vinyl will peel paint if the underlying condition or substrate is compromised in some way, shape, or form. So here's another example of how vinyl might pull paint, in this case clear coat, of a resprayed Outback. You see I started peeling some of the vinyl already, and you can see that it's not peeling the paint, but the clear coat itself. This was a cheap respray, and so because of that quality, you can see that the vinyl is easily able to peel off some of the clear coat as I peel off the vinyl with it. Here's another just example, a little bit closer. You can see it on the vinyl itself, going back. But for the most part, you can see that as I'm peeling it up across other areas, obviously in those sections there, the paint adhesion strength is stronger, except for this section here. You can see it's peeled off a little bit more clear coat going along. And you can see on the hood of my car there where the majority of the vinyl is actually peeling off. Just wanted to show that this vinyl here, because of unique texture, peels off in straight lines sometimes. Anyway, so back to this, peeling off the rest of the vinyl. You can see another chunk that took a little bit of paint along with a clear coat as well, peeling off all the vinyl. And so for the most part, you can see that the paint and clear coat did remain on, probably a good, 85 to 90% of the hood was unaffected. A little bit of adhesive residue left on there, but not very much. Something that could be wiped off very easily with some alcohol and basically just rubbing it with your finger, really. But you can also see how in the areas where clear coat was not strong enough to hold against the vinyl's adhesion strength or pull strength, where the vinyl did take the clear coat with it. Now I knew this would happen as I did this, and I'm just going to sand down the clear coat when I'm done, because I knew this was a cheap respray. And so again, where the quality of the preparation of the paint could actually end up in the vinyl itself peeling off the clear coat. All right, guys, so I hope this video has been helpful and informative for you to answer the question of will vinyl peel paint from my car when I go to remove it. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like by hitting that thumbs up button. Also, please consider subscribing as well and hit that bell notification button so you get notices whenever I post new content to the channel. I've got more projects and informational videos coming up, and I'd love to share those with you. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have a great day.